All right, let's get right into it. We're going to break down a really powerful framework for understanding and, more importantly, fighting back against the whole outrage economy. You've probably felt it, right? That feeling that good faith arguments just die online? Well, we're going to look at why that happens and lay out a real practical playbook for taking the conversation back.
This one sentence just says it all, doesn't it? It really captures this deep hunger people have for substance over just picking a team. It's a sign that people are getting tired of all the grandstanding. They're desperate for real, tangible things, mechanisms that actually change something in the real world.
So, to really get a grip on this problem, let's look at a real-world test case. Think about Andrew Yang's campaign. Here was a guy who showed up to a knife fight with spreadsheets and a whole lot of empathy. And for a little while, it seemed like it was working. People from all over the political spectrum were drawn to it because they were just exhausted by all the noise. But then, well, the system reacted. Okay, and this part is so important to get. A zombifier is not just someone you disagree with. That's not what we're talking about. We're dealing with a business model, a machine that is literally built to make money from anger. Zombifiers don't care about the truth or finding a solution. Their entire goal is to clip things out of context, twist any nuance, and just provoke. Because outrage gets more clicks than understanding. It's not an ideology, it's a full-blown industry.
So why does the nice guy approach, the zombie cure, almost always fail in this environment? Well, let's do a little autopsy here, because there are 4 huge structural problems that are basically baked into the system. First up, a total incentive mismatch. It's like one person is trying to carefully explain how a clock works, while the other person gets paid for smashing clocks with a hammer. The curator is trading in clarity, trying to make things understandable, but the zombifier, they trade in conflict. Every calm explanation is just more material for them to spin into a viral, dunkable meme. Clarity just doesn't sell. Conflict? Oh yeah, that stuff prints money.
Second, there's what we call an asymmetry of attention. The whole game, the algorithms, everything, it's rigged to reward the fastest, hottest, snarkiest take. You can't out-reason a machine that's built for speed. Your thoughtful, well-reasoned paragraph is still loading, while their provocative, simple, angry thumbnail has already grabbed all the eyeballs. And this next one is it's a dark kind of genius. It's called reflex laundering. See, the zombifier doesn't actually have to win an argument about your ideas. Why would they? It's so much easier to just slap a label on you. Oh, he's a whatever. They don't rebut your points, they just relabel you. Because labeling is way faster than thinking. And in this game, faster always wins.
But this is the absolute core of the failure, the good faith choke point. The curer walks into the conversation assuming the other person might actually be persuaded by facts and reason. But you have to understand, for the zombifier, bad faith is the product. Their entire business model is to sell you suspicion and doubt. You literally cannot negotiate with that. There's no common ground to be found.
Okay, so if playing nice is a losing game, what on earth do we do? Well, we need a totally new thesis. It's time for something called the merciless cure. Now hold on, I know merciless sounds pretty harsh, right? But this distinction is critical. We're not talking about being cruel or mean to people. We're talking about being absolutely relentlessly merciless with the machinery of outrage. The target isn't the person who's been confused, it's the system that profits from creating that confusion in the first place.
And the whole strategy is beautifully simple. It breaks down into just 3 parts. 1. Destroy the zombifiers by taking away their power. 2. Cure the zombified by helping them think clearly again. And 3, a very important one, ignore the irredeemable so you don't waste your energy.
All right, let's dive into part 1. How do we actually destroy the zombifiers? And let me be clear again, this is not about getting into a bigger, louder, shouting match online. No, this is about precision. It's about strategy. Think of yourself as a surgeon, not a sledgehammer.
So here it is, the 5-step playbook. First, you starve their revenue by finding out who their advertisers are. Second, you strip away their mystique by showing everyone exactly who is funding them. Third, and this one's kind of fun, you use the platform's own rules against them. 4, you impose an outrage tax. You make them actually provide a burden of proof for their wild claims. And finally, number 5, you use a little something called mimetic jujitsu to flip their own language on its head.
I love this idea. You basically hijack their script. So own the libs or own the cons? No. That becomes own the receipts. That's the new flex. Wake up sheeple becomes show me the docket. You see? The entire goal is to make providing actual evidence the new cool thing to do. You're not just playing their game, you are changing the rules of the entire battlefield.
Okay, so that's how we deal with the machine. But what about all the people who are caught up inside it? The ones who've been zombified? You can't use the same tactics on them. This requires a completely different approach, one that's a mix of mercy and method.
This whole toolkit is about helping people rebuild their critical thinking muscles. So instead of just shouting you're wrong, you ask one real question before you make a statement. You ground their abstract fears in something tangible, like a specific law, a line in a budget, or a vote. You can give them small, winnable micro-missions to find a piece of data, reconnecting them with reality. You build a culture that actually praises looking at evidence, and you always try to remember the human behind the avatar.
But let's be real for a second. What about the people who are just truly unreachable? It's a fair question, because you can't save everyone, and if you try, you will absolutely burn yourself out. So you have to be smart about where you spend your energy. You gotta know when to walk away.
And here is a super simple, actionable rule you can use. It's called the two-message triage. You ask a specific, concrete question. If they just respond with another vague label or an insult, you ask one more time, patiently. If they do it a second time without giving you any substance at all, you stop. You disengage. At that point, you're not in a conversation anymore. You're just providing free content for their outrage farm.
Okay, so let's wrap all of this up and bring it together. This is where you come in. This is your turn to build. This is the final doctrine, the playbook that helps you shift from just being another participant in the outrage economy to being an architect of something much, much better.
Think of this as your new cheat sheet. What we don't do anymore and what we do instead. We stop arguing with zombifiers, we start taking apart their business model. We stop shaming people who are confused, we invite them to test reality with us. We stop wasting our breath on the irredeemable and focus on the movable. We stop adding to the heat and start providing concrete handles. Names, dates, documents. And we never ever leave a fight empty-handed. We always leave with receipts.
And this last quote just frames the whole thing perfectly. This isn't about being an online warrior. It's about being a custodian. Our shared attention, our shared trust, these are public goods, like clean air. Zombifiers pollute that shared space for their own private profit. So being merciless toward that model, that isn't cruelty. It's an act of stewardship. It's our civic duty.
So we're going to end with a direct challenge to you. It's time to move from just understanding this stuff to actually doing something. The theory is done. The real work starts now. So, pick one failing institution. Name one person who can actually help change it. Define one tangible action you can take in the next 60 days. The question isn't, what's wrong with the world anymore? The real question is, what will you choose to fix?